We're just doing a 2-week series on relationships, and relationships are so incredibly important to us. Our relationship with God, the most important thing that we can do in life is to engage with our Creator, and so relationship with God is key, but every day we relate to other people. And so as we speak about relationships over these next 2 weeks, know that there is so much that we can grow into. There is so much we can learn and develop whatever stage we are in life. I don't know if you've realized this, but especially when we look at relationships and looking at relating to the opposite sex, I don't know if you've realized this, but there are differences that exist between the genders. Anyone recognize that before? Okay, a few people. The rest of you, man, have you lived? I know, for Kirsten and I, there's a lot of differences that we have. She's excellent at asking the right questions. So she knows the right things to ask, and so I don't ask enough. And so we get home and we talk about our day, and I'll say about an interaction I had, and she'll say, oh, what about this? She'll ask me questions that I should have asked, and I didn't think to ask them. And so Luke has just had a baby, and so I know on the first day when Luke spoke to me, I know that there is a baby. It was born. And I know it was in the morning because I think he sent a message early, so I know it was early. But when I'm speaking, it was afternoon? I thought the text was really early. I had a 4 a.m. text or something. Oh.
Labour.
Oh, labour. Oh. See, when I get back and I share this with Kirsten, excitedly saying, oh, this is great. We, Amy's had the baby. She doesn't just go, that's it. That's not the end of our conversation. The conversation then continues. Oh, how long was the labour? I don't know. What's his name? I don't know. We didn't know for a few weeks. That was fair. That was fun. How long is it? How heavy is it? All this kind of stuff that she would have asked if she was in my shoes, but I didn't ask because I just knew that it was a baby, and that was all I needed to. That was all my mind had. Right? We are different. We are different in who we are and the questions that we ask because we have different things going on. Some things are more important, and we process things differently, and that's interesting. Imagine then with me, if you will, that there was a husband and wife, and 6 weeks after Christmas, the wife jumps on the scales, and she's distraught. She's put on 6 kilos. Oh, I can't believe it. All those creamy salads and cakes and everything over Christmas, all the parties we went to. 6 kilos. This is devastating. I'm fat. I'm ugly. The husband just stands there like a kangaroo caught in the headlights of a car, not knowing what to say or do. The time passes, and the next day he's at Kruger, the Christian bookstore, and he notices in their top 10, there's kind of like a top 10 shelf, and he notices that this book is in the top 10. Matt? I'm hoping. Oh, here we go. Food, Fitness and Faith for Women. He's a sensitive guy. He's heard a concern that his wife has had. And so he buys the book, and he brings it and he gives it to his wife, thinking that he's a problem solver. Problem solved. Tick, we've done it. This is a great thing. And for a few seconds, he feels like a superhero, For a few moments, he feels as though he's done the right thing, he's achieved. Until she explodes. What? What are you giving me this for? I can't believe you do this. You're so insensitive. You think I'm ugly and I'm fat. And she walks out, slams the door, and he's just left there wondering, what did he do wrong? You see, sometimes there is a problem underneath the problem. There are words that are said that actually don't really talk about the things that are really going on in the situation. For women, studies have shown, and I'm going to say generalizations today, and if you don't fit these generalizations, then that's cool. But for women generally, they've done studies that say one of the greatest vulnerabilities is around body image, how they look. And so a woman will look into the mirror and they will see their imperfections, their wrinkles, the age, the weight. A man will stand in front of the mirror. He hasn't added 6 kilos. He's added 26 kilos on. He'll stand in front of that mirror, shirt off, and what will he do? He won't look and, shake his head, oh, woe is me. He'll suck his guts in, flex a little bit and go, I've still got it. We laugh because it's true. We are so different. Yet, in this same scenario, if one of her girlfriends came along and she said, I'm just going through food, fitness, and faith for women. The lady won't say, shock, I can't believe you're going through that book. She'll say, really? Wow. I was thinking about going on a diet. Do you want to do it together? There'll be something that will kind of knit them together with exactly the same material. What's the difference? What's happening is that there's a problem going on, a difference between the two. There's a book that I'm getting a lot of information from today because, it's always best to flick it off to someone else. And there's a book called Love and Respect by a guy called Eggridge. And he puts it this way. He says, when the issue isn't the real issue, it's critical to understand that the one thing that's going on in the spirit of the wife and an entirely different thing is going on in the spirit of the husband. The way I like to picture the difference between men and women is that the women look at the world through pink sunglasses that colour all she sees. The man, however, looks at the world through blue sunglasses that colour all he sees. Men and women can look at precisely the same situation and see life much differently. Inevitably, their pink and blue lenses cause their interpretation of things to be at odds to some degree. Not only do men and women see differently, but they also hear differently because men and women have sunglasses and hearing aids in different colours. They see each other's messages in different codes. This is interesting, right? We hear and see things differently. There's a different code, there's a different translation that goes on through our ears and our eyes, depending on whether you're a man or a woman. And we look at this and we can get upset about this. I can't believe we're so different. But this is all part of God's design. I don't know if it's part of God's design and he laughs about it. Well, I think it's actually because it's God's design, because he knows that if we can understand where our weaknesses and our vulnerabilities are and have enough humility to be able to recognize that and be able to look at the opposite strengths in our partner, then together we can be way better than we would ever be if we just struggled on in life by ourselves. God is amazing at the way he can bring two seemingly opposite things together to actually bring about a better whole. And you might look at this and say, but I'm single. I don't have someone else to kind of balance out my weaknesses. And this is an interesting reality that for a time, and perhaps for many people for a lifetime, they go through what the Holy Spirit gives them, a gift of celibacy, is working with them. And when you look at the pink and the blue sunglasses, if you meld them together, what colour do we get? Any ideas? We get purple, the colour of royalty. God is not male nor female. He actually has no weaknesses. So he can, as we engage with him in life, as we connect with him, whether we are single or with partners, he can actually strengthen us in the areas of our weakness in ways that our partner never could. And so in these discussions, we're looking probably more at a male-female partnership marriage, but also we need to look at this at how God can step in and work within our shortfalls, within our area of need, and can actually strengthen us and help us through. So let's think about the similar situation, the same man, same woman, and she goes to Kruger and she sees a marriage book. And on the top 10 list, she sees this marriage book, and she looks at it and goes, my husband would love this. This would be so good for him. And our relationship and our marriage, this would be so good. And so she picks up the book and she recognizes, he's pretty busy. He's had a lot to do at work lately. He's probably not going to read all of it. So helpfully, she takes the book and she highlights and underlines part of that book that she thinks that would be really, really helpful for her husband to read. She not only does that, she writes a few words in the margins as well to probably add and to fill out, to help her husband in his role in their marriage. And she takes the book and she puts it just on the little table thing and puts the remote on top of it so that she knows he's going to see it there. Well, he comes home from work and eventually sits down in his chair and sees this pink thing underneath his blue remote. And he looks and he thinks, oh no, what have I done this time? This is the third marriage book she's given me this year. Man, I can't believe this. I thought everything was going really well. I thought we were doing good. I thought everything was great. But now this third marriage book, and so he takes it and he slides it underneath the couch into a secret spot that he hopes that she'll never see. And she sees it's moved and suddenly gets excited and thinks, oh, this is great. He's reading it. He's getting into it. It's fantastic. A few days later, after searching all the spots that she thinks he would have put it if he was reading it, she finds it underneath the couch. She's so hurt. What's happening? Why didn't the guy grab the book and love it? Well, there's something going on underneath the surface. There's a reality that he's seeing what she's providing him and sees it in a very different light. If he was to give her a marriage book and say, I've underlined it and highlighted parts, she would love that. That would be amazing. That would be the best thing ever for their relationship. But it's the other way around. And something's happening underneath the surface. Something's happening that she isn't perceiving in the right way. Men and women are different. And in the Bible, Paul, the author of the book of Ephesians, writes this, and in what he says is something really important. Ephesians 5:33, he says, each one of you also must love his wife. So I've put in there, instead of each one of you, husbands must love his wife as he loves himself. And the wife must respect her husband. Love and respect. It's a really interesting thing because this isn't saying, men, you don't have to respect your wife. And it's not saying, wives, don't worry about loving your husband. Actually, we need to love and respect in equal amounts. But what actually he is saying is that men and women are different. Men and women are different in many different ways. Men have a code of honor. We love, when you look at what we love to watch, we love action movies. Why? Because there's always a hero that will defeat someone who's bad and who's usually destroying people who are weaker. He loves to see someone who's fighting for the weak and the oppressed. Loves seeing someone who's honorable and worthy of following. Men love to protect and look after things. Men love to work, and they find their worth oftentimes in the work that they do. Boys are very different than girls. We found this out when our son Simeon was born, and Simeon still goes past me and punches me all the time. I don't get that from Michaela and Leah, thankfully. But from Simeon, it always happens. He always wants to play knuckles with me. He loses every time, but he keeps coming back. So men aren't generally smart, but we keep coming back into the action. We want to fight it out. We want to wrestle, and they're the kind of the physical things that guys just get into. Men generally, achievement is one of the things that they're seeking in life, to find achievement in things. We are fixers, we're problem solvers. We want to see a problem and find a solution for it. Whereas women don't always want that, as I've learned. Fixing a problem isn't actually fixing the problem. They want to talk about things and discuss it and work it through. Men have a high value of respect. We see respect, and disrespect is something that is highly offensive for men. And so when we think about respect as something that men naturally do, what does Paul tell us? He says, husbands, love your wives. Not because husbands aren't loving, but generally, respect comes to us naturally. Love is something we need to work on. Whereas for women love by design. Women seem to have love kind of sorted out. It seems to be something that they naturally comes out of them. When a woman has a baby, there seems to be so much love already there, but no matter what smells and time of day comes out of this child, their nurture and their care and their love is just overwhelming. It's just a part of who they are. Women are emotional. They love to swim in the sea of emotions, whereas guys want to just kind of keep emotions like in their back pocket and keep them out. Women love to talk about it. And so what's their favorite genre of movies to watch? It's the romantic, it's the dramas. I look at them and I just want to delete them off the screen when it says, oh, what are your options? Romance, drama, flick through. But I know that my loving other half wants to kind of engage in those things. Emotions are things that they want to interact with. They want to talk more. They're thinking about more things. They want to communicate. Their word count is more in a day. Any men want to say amen to that? Quietly. They want to communicate more. They want to process things through interacting and talking about them. They travel in packs more. That's why we see them heading off to the toilets together, because they do things in a more communal way than we men do. And that's cool. There's just differences that we have. They nurture. They need security. They're designed to love. And so what does Paul say? Wives, respect your husbands. Husbands, love your wives. Because he doesn't need to tell women to love. That's their natural inclination. He doesn't need to tell men to respect. That's what they'll do. But what happens is that when you have a diet book that's given to a woman, they feel that is unloving. They feel as though you don't love me anymore. You're not giving me something that's actually helping me, that's building me up, that's supporting me. The man, when he gets a marriage book, he doesn't feel unloved, he feels disrespected. He feels as though he's failed in this marriage. He hasn't completed what he should have done. He isn't living up to the standards, and so he feels disrespected. And so the same situation or similar situations can be seen through very different glasses because of who we are. And understanding this helps us because we can actually grow as we get to see how we go. And oftentimes that leads people to this space of going, well, I'm not going to respect him until he loves me. Or I'm not going to love her until she respects me. And you hear this all the time, this kind of idea of, I'm not going to go first. It's your job to go first. You have to change and then I'll change. But for those of us who follow Jesus, we have an incredible example of one who was disrespected and unloved, yet still went to the cross and died for us. So when we look at this and we get up in arms and say, well, I'm not going to until, we then need to look through the lens of our Saviour and say, if he first came and did so much before we loved him, before we respected him, before we honoured him as we should, then how much more then, as followers of Jesus, should we be the first to stand in this space and say, I'm not feeling loved, but I'm going to respect. I'm not feeling respected, but I'm going to love. I'm going to be the one to take the first step in this because that's what I've been called to do. And when we go into those times where we discuss things with our mate, oftentimes it leads to a fight, and fights aren't always bad. Fights show that we're alive in a relationship. It shows that we are different, and we need to work on those differences, and we need to discuss things with each other. So fights are natural when you've got two imperfect people coming together in a relationship. But when we come to those spaces where we are in an argument, oftentimes what happens is that because women are fantastic at engaging and talking through things, they want to talk it out. But the man doesn't want to talk it out. He's kind of against emotions a little bit. He wants to step away from the talking. And I know this is different for who you are and how you deal with things. But the man can feel in the midst of this, that in the discussion that's had, that he's being attacked. And maybe he might feel as though the question of why aren't you around home more, in his mind he hears that and says, your work isn't, all this extra work you're doing, well, I don't really respect that. And she's saying, no, I want you around more because I want you to show how much you love me by the presence and the time you spend. And even in that, we can be hearing things differently. We can be feeling disrespected. Our blue earphones can be hearing these words that say, the time you spent at work isn't valuable. The time you spent earning money to put food on the table, that's not valuable to me. And in hearing that, he can become unloving. And she can be hearing or seeing, you're away from me, you're away from home, you're away from the kids, that's because you don't love us. Can you see where love and respect can kind of just miss each other? And that's why Paul brings us back to this passage that just says, husbands must love your wives. Go out of your way. Push yourself. Do something that might not be a natural inclination for you. Find ways to love. Be loving towards your wife as he loves himself. And the wife must respect her husband. Go out of your way. Find ways to honor him, to see the things that he has as a thing of honor and thank him for those things. Work things out and make sure that he gets the respect that he needs. Because ultimately when we look at this, didn't we first think, when we first fell in love, that our partner was good? Didn't we think that there was something good within them, that as we see them and we thought about who they were, don't we think, wow, there is goodness within him. I like that about him. I love that about her. There's something there of goodness, those qualities that we think, they are a great person. I want to be with them for the rest of my life. I want to live up to these ideals, these promises that I've made. And so when we think about the goodness that we know is within them, even though they've said and they've gone through and we've fought and it's been difficult and hard, we need to go back to that goodness and say, surely with that goodness in place, I need to give them the benefit of the doubt that even though they're saying things that don't seem here to me as loving, there's love in there. Even though she's saying things that sound to me with my blue earphones in disrespectful, there's good in there. Surely there's something that she wants in me that is of good, that I need to kind of take the blue earphones out and try to understand her. I need to take off my pink sunglasses and see what he's really saying, see what he's really doing. We need to find ways to come to each other, to interact and to work through the challenges so that we can get back to the goodness that we know is within them. I'll finish with the story. Because when he feels disrespected, it's hard to love, and when she feels unloved, it's hard to respect. So keep that in mind. Final story to finish with. There was a lady who was doing some reading, and in her reading, it said that you should go and ask your husband one thing, just one word that he would describe you. And so she was thinking, okay, I'll do it, I'll give it a try. And so she went to her husband and she said, okay, if you were to just give one word to describe me, just one, then what would it be? And he thought for a while. He thought for a while longer because he wanted to get this one right. And he said, one word? Yep, one word. Okay. The one word I would say is critical. Man, she heard this and, she started to get angry right from the bottom and started going red. But she had read in this book, don't respond, hold back, just listen to what he says, take it and go and process. And so she's like, critical? Can't believe he'd say that. Critical? Why would he call me critical? I mean, a little bit critical, maybe. So she stews on this for the whole afternoon. And finally, she couldn't hold it any longer. She goes to him and says, I don't understand. I mean, I know I'm a little bit critical. Sometimes you do things that I don't really love, and so I have to share that with you. What do you mean critical? And he just, his eyes just, widen and his shoulders drop. And he goes, I don't know. I look at you and I just see the things that you do around this house, the way that you love the kids, the time that you spend. I just think that you're so critical to our lives. I just think in the way that you live and the things that you do for our family, I have no idea how we could ever exist without you. You are critical to everything that I do. Can you imagine how much we use our words and our ears hear different things? How many conversations do we hear different? How many things do we see that are different because of who we are? And how much grace we need to provide to the people who God has blessed us with around us. Whether that's family or friends or kids or parents, we need to have our eyes and our ears attuned, not only to our blueness and our pinkness, but also to provide grace and love and respect to those who are around us. Let's pray. Lord God, we are so mindful that you are above